Good afternoon, everybody. If you were to play a word association game, Nova Scotia women's curling, three names, of course, would come to mind. Of course, the legendary, the Hall of Famer Colleen Jones foursome, and she's also playing here today. And the other two, Marianne Arsenault and Jill Brothers. Both of those teams coming in at 3-1, and that's what we have as our feature contest here on C. Brothers. Arsenault 3-1, second place. They are tied for in the women's standings after 4 draws here at Draw 5 of the Nova Scotia Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Once again, good afternoon to you all. My name is Dan Hobson alongside Karen Skeffington. And as I mentioned, Karen, both of these teams, probably have played each other a lot, know each other, and had a lot of success there on the bond spiels, cash spiels this season, and this should be a very good game, and there is lots in stake. McDermott, of course, 4-0, and Arsenault Brothers 3-1, starting to break away a little bit from the pack, and somebody can actually, get a little bit of distance and have second place all by themselves, providing they can get the win here. Let's get your thoughts on this one as we see the handshakes here to start things off.
Yeah, definitely a well-matched game we have here. Both teams at 3-1. Trying to avoid that second loss. As you said, they are starting to break away from the pack. Only the top 3 teams will make it into playoffs. So avoiding that second loss is going to be key. So I think we'll see both teams play fairly aggressively, try to get that lead early so that they can relax a little bit. Not that we relax too much when we're out on the sheet because anything can happen. But try to get that lead early so that they're comfortable. They've played each other, as you said, quite often. They play in the same circuit together. And they've also, Team Brothers came through on points, so they automatically birthed into the provincial seeding at seeding number 1, I believe. And Team Arsenault came through a qualification process. So they had a few more games with some of these other teams. But overall, this will be a very even match.
And looks to be that the Arsenault foursome here at the Dartmouth Curling Club will have the hammer here in one as the blue zone is set there. One final little team meeting there for the brothers foursome. So let's meet the brothers foursome. And they curl out of the Mayflower Curling Club. The lead is Jennifer Bryan. Second, Sarah Murphy. Erin Carmody is the third. Their skip is Jill Brothers. Bliss Joyce is the 5th member, and their coach, Daryl Nowlin. As we mentioned, out of the Mayflower Curling Club. And right to your left of your screen, you see in the red and black jackets the couple of the members, 3/4 of the members of the Marianne Arsenault team. So they are Jennifer Krause, the lead, and she's getting ready to throw, as you see in the background of your picture. Jennifer Baxter second, third Christina Black, and they're skipped by Marianne Arsenault. Their 5th member, Carol McLean, coached by Peter Corkum out of the Dartmouth Curling Club as we are underway. And this one will go into the rings to start things off on a Thursday afternoon here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. Glad you could join us here on TV1.
So as you saw, Team Brothers elected to play their first stone into the end. That takes the free guard zone away from Team Brothers. So free guard zone is the area between the hog line and the house. Guard in that area cannot be removed. So by bringing the play into the rings, we expect perhaps a cleaner game, though Team Arsenault, trying to score to this end, is going to try to use that free guard zone.
Stone in play, being ignored. There's the corner guard thrown up there by Jennifer Krause. Give everybody a little rundown of the standings here as we start draw 4. I mentioned earlier, a few seconds ago, McDermott, the only undefeated team right now in the women's division at 4-0. Arsenault and Brothers, who we have 3-1. Colleen Jones and Colleen Pinckney both at 2-2. Breen and McAvoy 1-3. Ladisher 0-4. And everybody is in action here this afternoon. And on sheet B, it is the undefeated McDermott taking on Pinckney. 4-0 versus 2-2. Pinckney 2-2, McDermott 4-0. Sheet D, Jones versus Breen. And as I mentioned, Jones 2-2, Breen 1-3. And Ladouceur versus McAvoy. McAvoy at 1-3. Ladouceur looking for her first win. And that's the other sheets being played here this afternoon. And it's the 5th draw, so they've got 2 games after this one is coming to an end. This draw comes to an end this afternoon. So if they're going to make hay, this is the day to do it. It's only 1 draw today, but definitely a chance here to move up in the standings.
Yeah, we're on the downhill slope now, as you say. We're past the midway point, so we may start to see some fatigue factor in as these games progress. Most of our events in the area in the Atlantic Canada are 3 or 4 days long, this event being almost 6 days long, 7 if you include the pre-event practice. So it's a very long week, although if they do qualify and make it to nationals, it'd be even longer. So it's a good opportunity for them to get a lot of these games in and see how they handle that fatigue level as we get on to these last few draws.
Sarah Murphy cleans things up here.
So the basic understanding of strategy is when you have hammer, as Marianne Arsenault does, you want to try to score 2. When you don't have hammer, as team brothers, you're trying to either force the other team to score 1 or try to steal yourself. So here with team brothers using the stone into the rings, I would expect they're trying to force Marianne to take 1 so that they could have the hammer in the even ends. So if you did that consistently throughout the game, you would have the hammer in the even ends, so in the 10th end when we're coming home, you would have the hammer. So that would be the ideal strategy.
Perfect corner guard, pretty well in line with the one that's in the house. So, right away, brothers asking plays to be made on those stone there by her second, Sarah Murphy. Carmody and Brian working on it all the way now. Looking to, at first, remove the guard. They do that. Can they pounce it off that other one? Yes, they do. Little slight jam on the blue and out, so worked out okay.
Worked out okay. They don't mind moving that back stone because it was back 4 foot. That could be an advantage to Team Arsenault, so it's not a bad thing to move that back a little bit. Unfortunately, they did leave this corner guard for Marianne to come around, so they probably would have preferred to roll a little bit closer to center line and keep a center line guard versus stay where they are. But overall, they did well to clear both the Arsenault stones.
Well, looks like that they'll have a little bit of a plan B. If they were trying to come around, they're going to be well short and just pretty well go right to the lid of that blue guard.
Yeah, it's just a little bit light on Jen's stone to get around, so we'll see them try to tap this blue up, perhaps keep it under cover, put some pressure on Marianne.
Well, if folks who are watching outside of Nova Scotia, it's a balmy day out there, almost spring-like, right around 6 or 7 degree mark. So it's a warm one, so it's making maybe the conditions here maybe change the ice just a little bit, maybe slightly, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that the air temperature and the weather outside would affect an indoor event. It does play a factor, especially here in Atlantic Canada, where we have a lot of humid air. We are expecting a lot of rain over the next couple days, so the ice maker will have his challenges trying to make sure that the air quality within the rink stays dry. We like dry because if it's wet, we get frost. So try to keep it dry and keep the speed of the ice going. So a great shout out to those crew. They're here very early in the morning to start prepping the ice for the very first draw today. 9 o'clock draw, they were probably in around 7 o'clock this morning, and they will be here till well after our last draw.
Nice precise shot there from Erin Carmody. Raised the blue stone there into the back 4 to currently sit 2. This is going to need a little bit of hoaxing, and now starting to come, and she'll get piece of that one. Will she get a piece of the other one? Just a little bit, not enough to remove it. Now spin back and sit there and back 12.
So we see how far that yellow stone rolled over after impact. These stones have a very narrow striking band, so we're seeing a lively action as you roll across the rings. So when two stones hit, they don't need to be hit very hard to still carry the momentum through. So this is unique to these stones. Not every set of stones is the same, so we really enjoy seeing the action that we get in the house off these stones.
Aaron Carmody here going to go after the yellow stone belonging to Marianne Arsenault. Going to hit the inside of it and go for a little bit of a roll. And will. So now brothers lying 2 here in number 1 without hammer.
So Marianne just looking to eliminate those. 1 probably wouldn't be too much of a danger to her, but I imagine with 2 so close together, it's a good opportunity for her to clear them.
Christina's black, her previous throw just looked like right when it came out of her hands. It might have been a little bit off, but she did get a piece of it, so made the adjustment here. And she'll get a roll as well. Will it roll out?
So you saw there Jen Baxter sweeping all by herself.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of different techniques nowadays. The sweeping has changed and developed especially over the last 2 or 3 years, into a more directional sweeping. So with just Jennifer Baxter sweeping there, they were trying to keep the rock from curling too much, thus keeping it a little bit straighter. So they may have not anticipated the ice from that area, and we're trying to keep it straighter to get the 2 stones. Instead, they caught 1 and rolled over. Opportunity here for brothers to try and get around this cover.
Brothers began this championship defeating Isabel Ladouceur, then followed up with a win against Colleen Pinckney, and then a loss to Colleen Jones, and followed back with a bounce-back win over Breen to be at 3-1. And there she is, of course. 2-time provincial champion as a skip, 3 times overall. As we are into skip rocks here in the first end. Let's say the line is good.
Jill Brothers, of course, a very recognized junior player in our province as well.
Not a brush lead to this. The bend.
There is a stone at the back if they can get it to curl over, if it's that heavy, but I think they'll rest right around the tee line. Still can see most of that stone, so Marianne will perhaps try to remove it, roll over in front of the other blue and use that for backing. You see in the top right-hand corner of your screen, there is a time clock. Both teams begin the game with 38 minutes of think time. So we'll check in again with the time clock around the midpoint of the game, around the 5th end break, to see how they are managing their clocks. Both teams also have 2 timeouts. So you would expect about 3 to 3.5 minutes per end. Of course, at the midway point, you'd want at least 19 minutes remaining so you can finish out the second half. If we can play the first few ends a little quicker, a few more hits, less discussions in the strategy, players ready to throw, you may be able to bank some time to keep for the second end or the second half of the game, where some strategy discussions might be a little bit more important at that point.
Slight cleaning here by Baxter. Kraus looking on. Past those guards.
I think we might have had a little rub there, but worked out nonetheless.
Yeah, nose hit, rose to blue, and the shot rock belonging to Arsenault on that beautiful throw here in number 1. As you said, it might have been a slight rub, but just enough just to get by.
So, of course, Jill and Aaron taking a look at where every stone is, make sure they understand what position. Of course, Aaron just coming down after throwing and wants to make sure she's aware of where all the stones are. potential here. If Jill hits it right, she could catch the back yellow one, although the blue stone is number 2. So it's not necessarily the important part. The shot stone is what we want to remove here.
Jill Brothers with her final here in 1. Brian Murphy on, now off.
That usually means it's close.
1, 2, as they get rid of some in the back as well.
And rolled over in front of her own, so her other stone may protect her as well.
Beauty of a shot there by Brothers.
So nose hit by Marianne here will get her the 2. Or sorry, get her the 1 point. She may be able to clear both stones, but just necessary to hit and stick for 1.
The focus of Christina Black to the focus of Marianne Arsenault of her last rock here in end number 1.
So great communication from the sweepers down to Christina in the house, making sure everybody knows what the weight is.
And will it? No, it just will stay around for the single point here in end number 1.
It's a great force by Team Brothers to force Marianne down to 1 point. Of course, Marianne would have been trying to score 2 with the hammer. So great result for Team Brothers. They will now have the hammer going back. So they will now try to score 2, and Marianne will force them to 1. So I think we're in for a very close game with a lot of these finesse shots. So as we finish up our first end here, the other sheets are as well. So on sheet E, we have Ladouceur playing against Team McAvoy. Ladouceur scored 1 in the first, so they are up 1-0 at this point. And we're waiting still on some scores on sheets B and D. So as soon as we get those, we'll bring them back to you. So here again we see some different sweeping patterns. So 2 sweepers are usually used when we need to carry the stone a little bit farther, and 1 stone sweeper will be used if you need to control the direction or the line. So Marianne playing a little more aggressively here, putting some rocks in play, hoping to steal this end. And Jill Brothers electing to go around and use Marianne's guard for herself. That guard is in the free guard zone, so it cannot be removed until the 4th end. So they may try to call this a little tight, and if they move the guard over, it won't be a bad thing for them.
This one will sail to the back 4. Actually, just right on the lid of the button there as we are in end number 2.
It is open though, so we can see all of it. Marianne will try to get, she could get to the inside just a hair, so perhaps maybe flop over behind the center line guard. That would be optimal.
Now they're really coming onto this one.
As we said, the on and the off usually means we're close to succeeding in the shot. So
Bumps the blue out, sits there in the 4-foot. For Arsenault to lie 1.
Until someone can get this nice roll into the center, we'll probably see them exchange rocks for a few times here.
A lot of Jennifers in this one. 3, here's one of them. Brian here from the Jill Brothers foursome of the Mayflower Curling Club. Nose.
Little inside roll, but not enough to get behind cover. So Marianne still has that opportunity to try it as well.
Battle of 2 second-place teams so far in the standings.
So we have a score update from Sheet D. Team Breen scored 2 in the first end against Team Jones, which is playing as Team Delahunt this week.
Breen 1-3, Delahunt 2-2. Coming into the 5th draw today.
So Marianne successful in removing that blue stone. Rolled to the other side of the house. This is a positive way to roll. We've changed the area of the ice that we're playing on, so it could be a slightly different line. It may provide a different opportunity.
Team last year had weren't afraid to use 4 or 5 members here. The Geo brothers forced them, well, 5/5 them, so of course they're the team that's known as the baby team, so
yes,
sometimes there was parenting commitments that came up, so we're even for Aaron Carmody, school commitments, MSVU students, so great option to have, and it was also made everybody fresh, so when you need to answer the bell, you were ready to go.
Well, I don't know, with all those young children at home, I don't know how much sleep they're getting when they have a day off, but yeah, definitely a young team, very committed to their sport, and of course you have to have the support at home, so shout out to all those families. They take care of the kids when the moms are on the ice.
I just thought of something. Curling Club Daycare.
Yeah.
I just thought of it. I could make all kinds of money.
I can remember going to the curling club.
Why didn't
when I
you
was
think of
3 or
something like
4.
this before I did? You're the smart one of this broadcasting crew. You're supposed to think of these, not just me.
I can remember going down to the club 3 years old and playing with the other kids upstairs while Mom was on the ice. So I'm sure there's quite a few nannies out there that also curl that help out.
The WWF, now WWE, used to have those big wrestling buddies. Then all of a sudden you make them with all like the Nova Scotia curlers. I'm all over this.
So of course Marianne got that nice stone in behind cover, so Jill Brothers just removed the front stone. So Marianne will just replace it here. So seeing a little bit of sweeping differences between the teams. Jill Brothers seems to be still using the 2 sweepers for most of their shots. So 2 different teams, 2 different styles of play, 2 different theories on sweeping. So it's interesting to see how this sport develops over the seasons. So coming in a little deep here. So Jen Baxter just trying to get it to curl over a bit more.
Well, if there is, of course, we've talked about Kristen McDermott being hot at 4-0. If there's a team that's the second hottest, it is this Marianne Arsenault team out of the Dartmouth Curling Club. Started the championships, did face McDermott, 5-4, could have gone either way in that one, and it has yielded off 3 straight wins over McAvoy, Breen, and Jones. So, hoping to make it 4 in a row.
Of course, those 3 teams. Those 3 teams aren't rookies either, so I'm sure every game has been well fought. As we see Aaron here try to make the double.
You hear the intensity. They're going hard, hard, hard. There it is. 1, 2. Will that yellow one go? Looks pretty good to happen that way. No spin back as he gets the double. Big shot by the Prince Edward Islander. Now, of course, we are calling her a Nova Scotian.
Yes. The curling community is very small, so we tend to see each other from, especially the maritime provinces. We play each other a lot. And so somebody that perhaps you grew up playing juniors from another province, they come to school in Nova Scotia, and now they're playing on your team. So lots of changes over the years.
Well, you mentioned that. Of course, last year, the Bell TV, what was that? The AUS Curling Championships. McFadden, of course, name pretty familiar in the curling circles in Prince Edward Island, had a girl that actually won a gold medal, and she's from Prince Edward Island attending St. Francis Xavier University. So even another Prince Edward Islander playing in Nova Scotia doing very well. Hit and roll.
Yeah, roll it over to the wings, change the position of the stone, thus making it perhaps a little more difficult for the opposition. Every time you move the location of the stone, it's not an identical ice path or track, so it's could be a little bit more challenging, especially if we haven't seen this area of the ice yet. So Marianne looking to hit the blue and perhaps roll a little bit inside. Again, as we said, just to change that location of the stone.
Get the paparazzi. I'm just kidding. That's a regular photographer. The staff photographer here is like, These teams are big, and big in terms of the stage of curling. Well, if we could get some international press, why not, eh?
Yeah, the more media coverage that we get, the smaller the world seems to get. But it's great to be able to have the web streaming and online scoring and the press, of course, to make sure the stories get recorded in history. And we get to keep a lot of families and friends from all across Canada and all around the world watching us. I know there's parents that are probably out west, or even some snowbirds down in Florida might be tuning in to us to enjoy these games.
One yellow lonely stone belonging to Arsenault there, as you say, on the wings as we play on here. Draw number 5 here at the Nova Scotia Scotties Tournament of Hearts. On its way from Jill Brothers here as we're into Skip Rocks. Brian Murphy going for a Thursday afternoon stroll. Nose hit, little roll towards the center line. Yep, still in the 12.
Yep, just changes that position. So Marianne will look to try and hit and roll in. She wants to get a position now where it'll be difficult for Jill to hit and roll out. So the closer she can get to center, of course, that will mean there's more circle for the other team to roll out of to try and force her to 1. Marianne has a pre-shot routine. She seems to be every shot, it's the same. I guess that's what makes you a champion curler.
Arsenault for last here in 2. Baxter like brushing. Brian there for moral support. Nose. And pretty well puts the broom down. Brothers makes her way up.
Yeah, so Jill will be looking to roll out here so she can blank and keep the hammer. Some people might think you want to hit and score as many points as you can. Sometimes it's more beneficial to keep the hammer. Later on in the game, if you were down by 2 or 3, you may elect to score that 1 point, but this early in the game, we want to roll out and keep that hammer.
Pinckney takes a point against McDermott as they play 3. 1-0 Pinckney over McDermott.
Some really close games out there today.
Final stone for Brothers here in 2. Hit, and that's still a bye-bye goes the shooter, so we have the blank. Still 1-0 as we head to the 3rd.
I expect we may see this type of play for an end or 2. By playing quickly like this, we tend to keep a little bit of time on the clock for the second half of the game. So we'll see how Marianne decides to begin this end, if she will put utilize that free guard zone and place a guard, or if she'll come in top 4 foot or so.
Yeah, and talking to some of the folks here around the curling club, the Dartmouth Curling Club, is where we're located here for the championships, and a lot of the talk has been that, you know, the closer we get to the end of the 7 draws, the more intense things are. Well, as you say, we're right in the thick of it, and the intensity has gone up a notch, and those teams that are on the bubble, whether they'll get into the final 3, this is their day to make hay if they can.
Yeah, certainly a long road. Some of those teams at 2 and 3 losses really can't afford another loss now. And some teams, because it is a round robin, you play all the teams. So depending on where you were seated coming into the event, you could have played stronger teams early, and that could be to your benefit, or you might be playing some of the stronger teams near the end. So as your body begins to fatigue and the team starts to get tired later in the event, sometimes you would have preferred to play the harder teams earlier. So Marianne electing to go into the ring, so we'll probably see a couple exchanges of rocks here.
Throw on came from Jen Bryan, 29-year-old, curling since the age of 7, learning center teacher at the Halifax Regional School Board, 2016 Nova Scotia provincial champion with this team brothers, and 2006 provincial junior champion. An impressive curling resume, portfolio, whatever the word you want to use these days.
So along with a lot of these being students or moms, there's some with full-time jobs as well. So the management of training and games, as well as your home life and your work life, I don't imagine there's much time left over.
Harmony guiding that one down.
So as we're seeing the exchange of rocks, and as we said earlier, we always want to try to change that position a little bit if we can, just to make it a little more difficult for the other team. Jen Krause sweeping hard on this to hold the line. Starting to curl a bit on them. They may roll out here.
Brothers hoping to achieve that task, as you mentioned, but it will just stick. A nice little turn towards the end there, but we'll stay in the house. A little spinny spin action on that one.
Yeah, sometimes the rocks act a little differently, just as that momentum point, just all the momentum's gone, and sometimes back up on us.
Here is the 31-year-old Sarah Murphy, a forensic engineer for Contrast Engineering Limited, curling since the age of 7, 2016 Nova Scotia provincial champion, our 2006 Nova Scotia provincial junior champion, and they finished 3rd at the Nationals. And last year, as we mentioned earlier, this is the baby team, so seen a little bit of 5th action last year, and also was into some games here at the Scotties last year when they were held at the Mayflower Curling Club. So, like I said, they were pretty well a 5-member team, all hands on deck.
Yeah, and I saw their alternate Bliss here watching a few of the games, so I'm sure if she had to, she'd step in. It's the occupations that we're seeing from all these curlers are quite a broad spectrum. So,
Well, the engineer part, that's not a surprise.
yeah, a lot of curlers go on to, especially junior curlers, they'll pick a career that involves a lot of physics and angles and things. So I see a lot of the kids nowadays finishing up their curling career at 18 years old, perhaps putting it on hold for a few years as they go into school. And I see a lot in engineering, and I see a lot in kinesiology.
That's a word that I've always had a little bit of difficulty trying to get, especially when we get more into like championships and you get a little more tongue-tied, I guess. Kinesiology. I got it.
You did.
Had to take my time though, but anyway. Program at Dow.
Yeah, of course, my daughter in that program, so she's learning all about how the body moves. So hopefully someday she'll be coaching or playing at that level and use those skills for herself. And catch the
Bang.
back one.
Yes. It goes as well. So line one, quiet in so far. Normal, and let's meet the third here on this team. There she is, ready to throw. Erin Carmody, the 29-year-old MSVU student, 2007, 2008, 2009 PEI junior champion. We mentioned that she was from that province, 2010 PEI provincial champion, and Scotties national runner-up. 4 stones for Kathy O'Rourke. So, been an asset to this team. It's her second year. Of course, she came over last year.
A lot of experience out there on the ice.
Christina Black here and 3. 1-0. Arsenault over Brothers as we play the third in. And this is pretty well a clean in so far.
Yeah, we're looking at probably banking a lot of time. Sometimes later in the game we get more rocks in play, so there's more angles to discuss. What weight are we throwing? All the different factors that go into making the shot. You tend to discuss them a little bit more as you get near the end of the game. So being able to accumulate some of that time or keep some of that time saved up for those discussions. You can do that by keeping these real clean games, clean ends.
All on its own here by Carmody.
And does it stay biting? Does not appear to be on our overhead, but...
Yeah, I see white ice.
So we might see our first draw since the first stone.
McAvoy, Ladouceur, they're tied at 1s as they play 3. Green still leading Jones 1-0, and 1-0 Pinckney over McDermott. Quick little update. Well, yeah, of course, now they changed the score over there on the Breen-Jones game.
They must know when we're talking about them.
Well, yeah, that's happened a lot. As soon as I say it, and all of a sudden somebody goes and puts a number up, and it's like, yeah, we got to prove this guy wrong so many times. Really do it. So, yeah, 3-0 Breen over Jones as they play the third.
So as you said, over on sheet E, Ladouceur playing McAvoy. Just a shout out to the team, Ladouceur. They're a junior women's team who qualified through the women's qualifier to play in this event. First time Nova Scotia's seen a young team from the juniors playing at this level. So great experience for those girls. Although they are at 0-4, a lot of their games have been very close. So they've been competing very well, making some great shots. So shout out to them.
One lonely yellow belonging to Arsenault here in the third. Well, we expected it to be a dandy. Looks like it will turn out to be a dandy. And
just waiting for one of the teams to pounce and try and put a lot of rocks in play.
Very
here.
much, yeah.
Yep.
Because that was when the intensity will start to pick up or things will get a little interesting.
Although both teams executing very well, we're not seeing very many misses here.
Here's the 34-year-old Jill Brothers, and curling since the age of 9, so that's 25 years, a hairstylist, and 2001 and 2004 Nova Scotia Junior Provincial Champion, 2004 Canadian Junior Champion, and a World Silver Medalist. And as we mentioned, of course, she's was a 3-time champion, 2007, 14, and 16. And in 7 and 16 was a third for Heather Smith, so has experience on the national level. And basically they have a son, Casey, that they are hoping to have goal to be a future Olympian.
Okay. Have to get him signed up for our ice cube
Husband
program.
is Paul, and you can see Paul if you turn the TV on in the morning.
Crowd starting to fill in here for the afternoon draw. So if you're in the area,
Yeah, she starts. Yeah, we're starting to. Well, starting to get crowded here.
Sure, there's still quite a few at work or at home tuning into us. So
I said this yesterday to John when we were over there on that sheet. You better be careful, because if you say something bad, these people who are family members of who you're criticizing may, you know, give you a little slap on the side of the head. But the thing is that we are a team. As this, we watched the stone here from Marion Arsenault. Follow up. We are a team, and I promise you that I will try to do my best to outrun you if you say something bad.
We'll try not to say anything.
Yeah. I will back up on what you say, but when it comes to a situation where they're chasing, all I got to do is outrun you.
Yeah. And of course, I got these short little legs, so probably won't be very hard.
Yeah, if you see two people that look like they're running with a piano on their back in the Dartmouth area, you know who they are.
So I guess they're taking a second look at this blue stone out just on the edge of the 12-foot. We don't think it's in based on the coverage here we have of the overhead. Jill Brothers just taking a quick look at, if I hit on the outside of the yellow, will I come in contact with that blue? Will it catch it? So it just took a little bit longer to make sure both she and Aaron understood what were the expected outcomes from the shot. Of course, always want to remove the other stone first. Last stone here.
Brushing here.
Looks like she's got the roll. Will she roll out to blanket?
They're working hard to get that roll. Nice work by Brian. Out it goes. And a chuckle to boot.
Yeah, you wouldn't think you'd work that hard to not score a point, but again, as we said earlier, carrying that hammer through to the fourth end will be to their benefit versus trying to score one. So again, we'll probably see another quick end here in the fourth, and we'll get close to as we get closer to the midpoint, we'll see probably a little more rocks in play. All depends what Marianne does her first rock.
As our scoreboard changes there, fourth end remains Arsenault 1 and Brothers no score. A single point there with Arsenault. She had the hammer 1, and then back-to-back blanks. Also known as a blank blank.
Double blank.
Yeah, blank squared.
I wonder if there's an emoji for that one.
Would it be sort of like a big, I don't know, the round black of nothing, or a big square black of nothing?
I don't know.
So with that, is there any other terminology when, when you were having one of those ones where there's a lot of hits in an end and it's, the house is pretty empty? Do you say, hey, this is a bachelor's apartment, it's all empty? Or is it almost like, hey, this is like my refrigerator, it's empty too?
Curlers have their own terminology for a lot of things. I've heard, a wiki-ticky. I've heard, hit and flop. We've got a lot of terms. Sometimes they just develop as teams develop their own language and how to discuss shots. But, yeah, I heard this morning some of the broadcasters were saying double-able. I can't even say it, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from that.
And of course, yeah, with Tim Hortons one of the sponsors, we like to say it's a double-double, so.
Come around.
Marianne using that free guard zone to place that center stone in the free guard zone, and then Jill Brothers electing to come around. So it looks like we'll see some rocks in play here. Rocks in play usually mean there will be a score. So any team that would be playing from behind would like lots of rocks in play, and a team that would have a sizable lead would probably like no rocks in play.
Here's our first look at the 37-year-old Jennifer Krause, 2 national Scotties appearances and 2 national mixed appearances. Works for Canada Life as regional sales manager.
Oops. Accidentally lost a broom there.
How many times do they have to be told you are not allowed to eat popcorn before coming to the rink? How many times?
I remember doing a fun event where we had people visiting. It was during one of the national, when the Briar was here in Halifax, I believe. They had a Come Curl With Us day over at Mayflower Curling Club. So you had people from all over Canada sign up to participate in this. And somebody had dropped their broom. And I saw about 10 or 12 people drop their brooms. And they said, didn't you know when someone drops a broom, everybody has to drop their broom? So it was a neat tradition I'd never seen that came from a different province, and it was kind of fun.
Seems to be, well, if this happens again, because there was one that was dropped in the Fleming game that I covered on Sheet D this morning, so if it happens a third time, I don't even know what to do or even what to say. As I say that. Okay, I do know what to say. Welcome to a curling game, and you'll see anything, anytime, anywhere will happen.
Yeah. So Jill Brothers coming around to guard this blue from the other side. Marianne is set up well on the right-hand side there with the yellow. She can promote that back, or she may just elect to try to make a play on that center line blue at the top just to get it out of the way. So we're going to take a moment to discuss this, make sure all the team members are on the right page, same page. So of course, Jen being the one to throw the stone, she wants to be very comfortable in the hack, make sure she really understands and can visualize the shot that is being called.
And we're saying Jen, her name is Jennifer Baxter, the 30-year-old has had 10 Scotties Provincials appearances, 2 appearances at Scotties Nationals, winner of 1 Provincial Mixed Championship, 2 Mixed Doubles Provincial Championships, and 1 Junior National appearance. And her occupation is Learning Center Resource Teacher at Elizabeth Sutherland School. Wonder if her students are watching.
I hope so. It would be interesting to see if they can get a live feed in the classroom. So it's interesting to see that mixed doubles. For those of you that have never heard of mixed doubles before, it's a two-player curling game per team. So it's 2 players versus 2 players. 5 stones are delivered and 1 stone is placed. So we use 6 stones per team each end. It's going to be introduced at the Olympics this year in February. So if you haven't seen it, tune into those events and try to catch one of those games. It's a very different game, different strategy, a couple different rules. So we just racked on the front here. Opportunity perhaps here for Brothers maybe to get in and clear that yellow out of there. So as we said, with a few more rocks in play, a little bit more discussion.
Yeah, you mentioned that, of course, you said at start of this end, more rocks in play, more likely a score to be the result. And as that, well, little bit more conversation in between shots for both teams.
Yeah, it's great to see this conversation because if you're throwing the rock, you want to really make sure you understand what weight do you want, what line are we tracking. Because if you're planning to throw a hit and you're throwing a normal hit weight, when the skip actually wanted board weight, it is a very different line.
Through the port, picks
Very
the yellow
nice.
out.
A little roll to stagger.
Yep, to lie 3 with hammer here in 4.
So as we were saying, the line and the weight is very key. So making sure that everybody, even the sweepers, know what that expectation is before the shot is delivered. So this should have a little bit of weight on it. We're looking to clear some of those blues out of the way.
Black on the rock as soon as it's out of her hand there of Jen Baxter.
You really see Christina trying to sweep the opposite side of where she was to really keep the rock from curling too much on her. So a lot of teams have been experimenting with this directional sweeping. They even have a smart broom, they call it. You can use this broom. It analyzes your brush stroke, your sweeping speed, how much force you're getting down towards the ice on it, and really make sure that you're sweeping effectively. So
A smart broom that you cannot dial out on. Or check the weather forecast, or even organize with it.
Yeah, all these days with smartphones, smart TVs. Well, we have smart brooms.
Smart brooms. Smart broom. What time is it? And all of a sudden, there's just this awkward silence of nothing.
Yeah. It only knows how many brush strokes a minute you're doing. So brothers lying number 1 and number 3. Just going to try perhaps to guard or be corner frozen on this yellow would be nice too.
Brian Carmody working on it already.
Going to get a little chip and some separation. That you might call that one a wiki ticky.
Not even going to try it.
So Marianne can see a little piece of this, so she's going to try. Hit one and roll over and perhaps grab the second one. Make the double here with Christina.
Let's get to know Christina Black, the 30-year-old, 10 provincial, 3-time provincial mixed champion, 1 silver medal at nationals, a 2-time CIS silver medals in curling for St. Mary's. Of course, there's a gentleman that you and I know, the coaches of St. Mary's curling teams there. Bill Fletcher, just down the road from your curling club, and is a Cape Brettoner, so she's, basically decided to come to the mainland after leaving the island and works now at TD Bank as a customer service manager.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of Cape Brettoners tuning in to watch Christina. She has a big fan base. I actually saw her niece playing last year in the Little Rock tournament, so 10-year-old curlers play. I felt like a traffic cop. So brothers still lying 1 and number 3. Mariana Arsenault has the number 2 position there at about the 10 o'clock position on our overhead screen.
Been to Sydney a couple of times up there. Of course, we were up there a couple of years ago for Major Bantam Hockey Championships and enjoyed the hospitality, enjoyed my days there. Just like I'm enjoying this trip here to Dartmouth Curling Club, watching some great curling action here in draw Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
And I hear Bell TV 1 will be covering the seniors in Amherst coming up in a few weeks. So will you be in on that one, or is there a different crew? We'll see what happens. So brothers drawing the 4-foot here to sit 2. Marianne looking to get that double out of Christina.
Black here with a big hum-ding daddy on this one.
There's a turn. Very good. Makes the double to sit 2.
Well, I'm in the business of trying to come up with things a little bit more different. So the creativity is what I strive for.
I think Jill would like to get a little roll over here and get buried behind some of those other stones. Try and set up a deuce potential.
Me round and round, and bang it goes. Bang goes the yellow, and the blue sticks around.
So as you said, it was spinning quite a lot, so that's a high rotation. With that high rotation, you won't see the movement out of the stone that you typically would with a lower rotation. We usually look to have about 2.5 to 3.5 rotations as it goes down the sheet. When there's a lot of curl in the ice, the rocks are moving, we tend to see players at this caliber can adjust that amount of rotation, and we'll tend to play closer to 4.5. So sometimes that habit comes into play, even with this straighter ice that we see, with probably not necessary.
Have to take a deep breath before I go into this bio. You know her, you see her right on your screen. Marianne Arsenault, the 49 years old, 20 of Scotties provincials, 3rd as a skip. So she's been here 20 times, 3rd calling the shots, 5 Canadian championships, 2 world championships, competed in national mixed doubles, and her occupation, registered massage therapist, and she's the mother of 1 perfect daughter.
That's got to be a proud mama when you're saying it's perfect, right?
Yeah, I have a gentleman asking, "You getting away with it? Letting these ages out in public?" I said, "Yeah. You give it to me, we use it." They could pretend when they give the bios out, age, and then have, sort of like maybe like a little slant or dot, 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 dot. Or make it look like that the ink ran out.
Yeah. Might be your 10th anniversary at this age. So Team Arsenault line 2. Brothers look to hit and perhaps move this stole.
Hits and sticks.
So Marianne looking to clear this to sit 2, perhaps force Jill to take 1 point in this. And Jill with hammer, so this is Marianne's final stone.
Well, folks, I don't know if you hear it, but Karen Skiffington is getting chirped at here close to our broadcast location. My friendly chirps, of course.
Yes, my partner for tomorrow morning's game just arrived, so myself and Nancy McConnery will be doing 8 o'clock in the morning draw tomorrow morning, so we'll be back for that.
You're doing fantastic on the concentration. By Baxter.
It's like being in the hack. You just got to focus on one thing.
And sticking once again.
To sit 2. So Jill Brothers will just hit this and take her 1.
Hit for 1, the plan.
Although if and roll out, giving Marianne 1 point, she would still have the hammer, and she would only be down 2. So it's not a huge misstep, for lack of a better term, if she did hit and roll out. But we want to keep this a nice close game, especially as we get closer to this midpoint. So ideally we would be in the 1.
Well, of course, people are with us for the junior championships as the final stone on its way here for brothers here in 4. Steele's been a little bit of a story at the junior championships and kind of for the men's. Could we see one here? They'll just hit and stick there for the single point. So
Yeah,
1-1's where we stand after 4.
So you mentioned a lot of blanks at the junior level and the men's. Of course, each style of game is a little different. So the women's game has a lot of finesse shots, a lot of tap backs, gentle outs, things like that. Men's we see a bit more aggressive, so bigger weight hits, things like that. So certainly different styles of play for different types of or levels of curling, and each team will have their own style as well. So we'll see here if Jill Brothers will use the free guard zone and place a stone near the center line, or if it will go into the rings, and that will set up the makeup of our end this end. Appears that she wants it to be in the free guard zone, which will mean Marianne won't be able to stone from play.
You mentioned earlier in the broadcast about Brothers doing very well on the points, bond spiels, cash spiels from the season to get her #1 ranking and get a buy into these. And what helps to do that is great finishes at those bond spiels. And overall record, 21 wins and 8 losses on the World Tour, and defeated Teresa Breen 7-4 back in October to win the Dave Jones Cash Spiel at the Mayflower Curling Club. That's with 3 wins in that event.
Yeah, so the more events that these teams can play in leading up that qualify for points, the better chances they have to accumulate those points. So not all the events are home here in Nova Scotia. Some of them are away. Some of them are even into Toronto, Ontario, and farther west. So a lot of traveling to events. So with those points, the top 2 women's teams in our province gained a berth into this event. The other 6 teams participating here this week earned their berth through qualification process, which occurred earlier in December. So Marianne went around the guard of Team Brothers. It looks like we're trying to set up another guard here. Don't know if that was the called shot or not. I think they would have been trying to freeze down on the yellow. So Marianne with the hammer trying to play it towards the wings now. Again, those blue stones are in the free guard zone, so they cannot be hit. So we're play outward now.
This Marianne Arsenault foursome out of the Dartmouth Curling Club, coached by Peter Corcoran, their 5th member, Carol McLean. They've pretty well had a consistent season up till now, 5th and including now, and now maybe starting to gain on a good roll here. Starting off these championships with a loss, 3 straight wins. But they had 5th place finish at the Royal LePage OVCA Women's Fall Classic, as you mentioned. That's one that's out of the province, I believe. And Dave Jones, of course, and the Spitfire Arms Cash Spiel. All 3 of those 5th place finishes.
So Jill Brothers looking to hit this #2 stone. #1 is quite buried, so she'll stay away from that for a little while.
You hear the action on the other sheets as things start to get intense. We'll update everybody on things maybe before we go to the 5th end break, as we are in the 5th. 1-1 game. And they're working hard on this one is the Team Arsenault.
So we've talked, and we haven't really talked a lot about the brushes. If you've noticed, both teams have bright yellow heads on their brooms. They're all you can see there, Jill's is bright yellow, as well as Marianne's in the background. So with the new development in the sweeping techniques, we've noticed that many players at this elite level can actually sweep so that they can provide a change almost in the path of the stone. And of course, the World Curling Federation and Curling Canada did not like that. It took away a bit from the sport. So done some experimentation, and they've deemed that this is the fabric that we will now use at all these levels of play. So it's a World Curling Federation approved fabric, and everybody's using it at this level as well as at Canadian level and world level.
All on its own here.
I think we're going to get a little roll maybe in behind. It's a great roll on that. You can see a little piece of it, and it does sit right on the tee line, so I'd like to get down and get frozen on this. Perhaps set herself up for another shot.
Breen 3, Jones 1, as they play fourth on. Of course, if you want to find out the actions going on there, just tune in to Terry and Nathan. They have the call for that one on TV1. Blanks in 3 and 4, still 1-1 McAvoy Lattiser. And they've hit the fifth end break. Boy, they ended that one in dramatic style, having the measurement.
And another blank. They've blanked 3 ends over there. Guess that's why they're already in their fifth end break. They were banking all that time on their clocks.
Yeah, we've got rocks here in play, so looks like blank may not happen. Definitely.
More than likely, if there's rocks in play,
yeah,
somebody will score. So we just saw a nice draw here from Team Brothers. So Marianne believes she can hit this pretty much right on the nose and clear it right out without too much effect on her own stones, which are numbers 2.
And she'll ask her third, Christina Black, to execute the shot.
Needs to curl a little bit to stay off that back one.
Blues are going to give it a light hit. Will the yellow spill out? Blue can't stick around. Goes towards the back.
Yeah. The blue one, you may see the shadow of it in the screen. I'm not sure if our overhead covers that. It is still in play. So there is a line across the back behind the rings, which designates the in-play area. As long as that rock is still touching a part of that line, it is still in play. So even though it's not in the circles, it's still back there and could cause headache for somebody trying to clear a stone through there. Little discussion there from Aaron and Jill, just to make sure they knew what the shot was. Aaron had thought perhaps maybe she could get in and get shot if she hadn't rolled. Jill had indicated staggering of the rocks wasn't quite favorable for that option. So we'll take a look and see what happens here.
Sorry. After a very short conversation, Aaron Carmody on its own.
I think nose hit here. Keep it off that back blue. We don't want to jam on that.
Gives the shebang and the yellow goes.
So it's close, but I believe it's yellow. The number 1 shot.
Yeah, I'll agree with you.
You're not going to bet against me on this one yet,
No.
are you?
Oh, I looked real close. It's like, I see, yeah.
We might have to bet some M&Ms later or something.
Oh, well, that's not fair because I'm going to lose that one.
It's a nice line here.
I'm more of a casino sort of gambler than anything, if I ever was to gamble. But gamble on shots or whether shots are in or out, that put me in the poorhouse real quick.
So Marianne successful in removing that blue. So 3 now. So Jill looking to play on this number 2 stone and perhaps roll in frozen if we can keep Marianne down to 1 point. It would achieve a goal for brothers without hammer.
Yeah, having a good conversation. Of course, they had one previously.
Yeah, I think she's wondering if she caught that yellow one really thin. Could she come off it enough to move the yellow one and sit shot? It's really thin. You almost have to miss one. Centerline guard. Although the ice is pretty straight, so this is why they're out there. And they see these shots.
Well, we've got some, of course, they are in moving along there in the sheet D. Of course, we're talking about the about that being covered here by the team of Terry Nathan on sheet D, and that's starting to get away there from Jones 6-1. Green with a big 3 and N4.
Yes, no sweeping over here. I think we're close.
Just by those blues.
How much of the yellow?
We'll remove one yellow.
We have the winning
pushes
number,
off,
50-50
and the blue goes up to the 12-foot area.
So blue sits number 2, and it's actually open, so she could promote that later on.
2.
So we've got the 50-50 ticket winners being called here behind us.
140. We have a winner.
So if you're in the area and want to catch one of our evening draws, make sure you jump on board. Those 50-50 tickets help support the club and junior programs and youth curling here in Dartmouth Curling Club. So Marianne's looking to try and score 2 this end. Determine whether or not that blue should be removed or if we want to draw in and sit 2 right now. I think if I were Marianne, I'd elect to remove it.
Daycare? Sure. Daycare, you said you're going to open up the daycare, right? Early daycare?
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as I get done.
So we're just meeting some of the Jill Brothers team children here. They're upstairs with us watching, so cheering on all the moms.
Yeah, they were joking with me about I want to start the daycare, and it's like, well, I got to take some courses first. Did you ever see that movie? I can't think it was Daddy Daycare, and
oh, yes.
They got confused, and the guys that ran it ended up giving the kids Mike's Hard Lemonade instead of regular lemonade.
Oh my!
Yes, you know. Yeah.
Marianne and her
That would be
routine.
disastrous.
Yeah, Marianne looking to punch this blue one out and to sit 3.
Skip round 5.
There is a catcher stone back in behind the house that's not in the rings, but it is in play, and she's going to avoid that. There you see it on the back camera. So we're not sure if it's actually in the rings or not, or some of our overheads aren't necessarily showing that area of the house. May come into play with that biter of Marianne's. So now if you're Jill, you're thinking, how do I keep her from scoring 2? So do you draw in and top 4 foot there frozen on the yellow to reduce the scoring area? Or do you remove a stone from play so it can't count against you? So a little bit of discussion between the two of them. She's indicating she could freeze to it as well. It would be very difficult to remove. But Marianne could outdraw that, I would think. I think if you could ever get frozen on that yellow, Marianne would have to draw the 4 foot for her second point. Of course, it's all about forcing the opponent to make the most difficult shot. or perhaps a shot that's out of their comfort zone. So if they prefer one turn over another, if you can force them to play something that's not as comfortable, it's always to your benefit. Or almost always, I would say. So I think we're going to make a play on this back one, just make sure that that point is out. They did take a look at that back blue one. Maybe they believe if she could hit and move the stone around here that Marianne will only line one. But from the little bit I can see from the overhead cameras on my other screen here, is that the yellow at about that 9 o'clock position, a little bit higher than 9 o'clock, is out counting the back blue one. So lots of discussion around this shot, making sure everybody's on the same page, understand what the expected outcome is.
Yeah, the ends 2 and 3 moved along pretty good for a little bit longer, but this one, a lot of conversations, a lot of.
Yeah, teams could always, like we say, have their preferred way to play an end. So some teams will play very offensively, have a lot of rocks in play, try to really score points, and some teams will be very defensive and try to keep it clean. And
Well, looking at that one, thinking, is it in?
Is it
it out? Well, right now it's being out counted, so by that blue one.
So it appears that this will be a nose hit for 3. Again, that blue on the, there is a blue on the back that we do not believe is counting on the rings, but it is in play. But I don't think it'll be a factor. Not putting any M&Ms on that one.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you just tuned in, Arsenault began the game with hammer and scored a single point in 1. And she's hoping to go into the 5th end break, getting a big break and a chance to make a little bit of damage here. We have a 3 spot here in end number 5, final stone from Marianne Arsenault out of the Dartmouth Curling Club. Hoping to move that blue one and stay for 3.
A little bit of on-off, sweep, yes, clean. So it appears it'll be a score of 3 for Marianne.
To go into the 5th end break. And a little bit of work catch up here for brothers. They'll have a chance to talk about it for a good 4.5 minutes. So we'll take a break here. It's Draw 5, Nova Scotia Scotties Tournament of Hearts on TV1.
First in the morning or ladies, do you know?
If you're just joining us on a Thursday afternoon, welcome back to the Dartmouth Curling Club. We're watching Draw 5, the Nova Scotia Scotties Tournament of Hearts. And this is Sheet C action featuring the 3-1 Jill Brothers versus the 3-1 Marianne Arsenault. And Marianne Arsenault with a big 3 at the end of the 5th to take a 4-1 lead. And Brothers will have the hammer here in 6th, throwing the blue stones. My name is Dan Hobson, joined alongside here by Karen Skiffington. Producer is Chuck Calder. And the Bell 5 TV1 crew gladly here. And, well, it was pretty well back and fair. And then Arsenault put a little bit of pressure there on the Brothers team with the hammer and ended up coming up with a 3 spot. So that was a big way to go into the 5th end break. So for Brothers, she pretty well has to erase that 5th end. And for Marianne Arsenault, she has to build off that 5th end.
Yeah, Marianne's really got momentum forward and try and keep a nice clean end for this end and the upcoming ends. Jill Brothers, if she scores 2, she's right back in it. So looking to score her deuce this end. Of course, with hammer, that is a little bit easier to do, per se. So she's looking to take advantage of the free guard zone, get her corner guards up, and secure that deuce going forward, and then we'll be back into a close game.
So here is Jennifer Gross. We've, of course, met some of the athletes and found out some of their backgrounds a little bit earlier on here broadcast, and been lead here for a few years for this team. And right now, it's out there by its own. Black and Baxter, the B&Bs, just looking it on and cheering it.
Yeah, looking to freeze us right onto it. So if you're Marianne, you don't want a lot of rocks out front because she's trying to minimize the scoring. So as we said earlier, rocks in play create an opportunity for points. Therefore, Marianne does not want rocks in play to keep Jill Brothers from scoring any more points.
Jennifer Bryan will come around her blue stone here, or hoping to. Starting to curl and come over.
Just
and by, yeah, just.
Light, I think she would have preferred to be in the rings, counting.
Light and tight.
Yeah, although the double guard does work to her advantage because Marianne will have to remove 2 guards before she can get to a stone, if she can get another one in there. Jill also has the option to hit and roll over from the yellow to that area as well. So having the 2 guards there is nice.
And if you're up by 3, you can maybe just make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation, rush something, get yourself in a situation you want to be in. So they'll come and have a little bit of a sidebar there.
Yeah, little discussion. They have not seen an indication of a timeout. Both teams have 2 timeouts per game. We have 38 minutes of thinking time when we begin. As we begin this 5th end, Marianne has just over 21 minutes remaining. Time to finish the second half. Jill Brothers was right around the 19-minute mark when we began the end. Thus, she has almost exactly half of her time remaining for the second half of the game, which is doable, certainly. That's why they have a set amount of time. With the timeouts that she has, that will also give her a little bit of a buffer as well. So all 4 members of the team on the same page for this shot now that they've had their discussion. I'm just going to try and
Baxter.
remove one of these stones.
Yeah, they were probably thinking maybe we can try to get rid of both. That'd be great. But it's like, what have you missed? Then you're setting yourself into like a situation where you may regret. So they'll take the safe approach.
Exactly. You want to make sure you execute well, make sure clear those rocks off the front. And she is still standing 2, so she has the opportunity here for Sarah to perhaps hit and roll behind the cover.
Why, this one comes from Sarah Murphy. To score on sheet E. McAvoy got 4 in the 5th. So it's 5-1 over Ladouceur. Of course, they ended up exchanging single points in the 1st and the 2nd. Blanks in the 3rd and the 4th. And a 4 spot there by McAvoy, who's out of the curling club. Came in today 1-3.
So the rock tracked a little straighter here. We took the little wick and rolled in behind cover. So Marianne now will remove that second guard that we saw earlier.
Removes the guard and the shooter goes out of play. Sheet D, of course, one of our other games that we are showing. Terry Nathan with the call on that one. And we talked about Breen getting a little bit of a lead, and Jones fight back at a deuce and in number 5, so 6-3 as they play the 6. And why this one makes its way down, how about sheet B update? Why not? The undefeated Kristen McDermott team has a lead now, 3 as they play the 7th. That one moving along pretty quickly. They've had blanks 1, 4, and 5, so.
Yeah, things move along quickly when there's blanks. There's not a lot of discussion in the hits. Usually just hitting and exchanging stones. So they're almost a full end over there. So a guard here by Team Brothers leaves a little bit open for Team Arsenault to chip that blue one out. The thing here is if there's an error side to it, it would be the inside, so the side towards the wings. So Christina just looking for clarification, which rock am I hitting? So if Christina was to error, we would want to see that error on the outside, towards the wings. If she was a little tight, she could remove the guard instead of the shot stone. So either stone would be advantageous for Arsenault to remove. The call is to remove the back shot.
Should pretty well exchanges yellow stones, but gets a little bit of a bounce, 8-foot area.
Yeah, not too bad for them. They removed that stone off the back 4-foot, which Jill Brothers could have used by drawing down to, and they've got gained a little bit more separation between the yellow stones, making it a little bit more difficult to remove both at the same time. Jill Brothers ignoring them and just drawing in behind. So Jill really trying to set up one point before she how she gets that second point. As long as she has a path into the button, she does have hammer, so she could use that path in the end with her last rock if necessary.
Carmody as we're into the third stones here in 6. Trying to come through the hole.
Trying to get a little finish off that and get it buried, but it'll stay open.
I'll stay right there.
So I think Jill, if they keep exchanging rocks, Jill might have another guard. If it was yellow, she could still even use that.
Kraus and Baxter. Now Kraus gets in.
Looking to try to get it.
There is the curl. Slight little bounce off that one and up.
Opportunity here for a double for Jill.
3 yellow stones in the rings belonging to Marianne Arsenault, and as you mentioned, possibly there.
Based on the players out there, I think our air temperature might be a little colder today. Probably trying to keep the ice a little harder with the warmer temperatures rolling in. Some jackets and sweaters on. Normally our front end, they have just their t-shirts on.
Lots of rotation from Carmody. She's saying no, no, no.
Yeah, she does have quite a bit. I'm gonna roll the other one out, but it will be out of the rings.
Yep. Shot really makes that so easy that we don't have to, decide. See a lot of white ice in between, so.
Yeah.
So clean things up here, and now Jack and Arsenault, well, I was going to say they're going to have a conversation, but as soon as I say that, and Arsenault has other plans and we'll head up, get ready for her first of 2 skip rocks in 6.
Yeah, some really great communication from both teams to make sure they're all on the same page. I mean, we've said this over and over again this game, but it really is a key to some of these teams' successes is making sure that everybody is on the same page. Here's some action down there.
Yeah, well, nothing really new to report on the scores on the other 3 sheets. We get any updates and things change, of course they will. We'll pass them along.
Scrub here by Jen. And Jen.
There's like 3. There's like out of 8 participants here, 3 of them have the first name Jennifer, so you have a 37.5% chance of,
Getting it right.
Yeah, I like those odds. Just like on the men's side, you have like a 18, 2 Thompsons in it, a 25% chance of calling a Thompson game.
Yeah.
And a Thompson winning a championship, but of course we all know it's going to be a lot harder. Math numbers don't really mean anything when you've got caliber competition.
Yeah, there's still quite a few games left. So of course another men's at 7 o'clock, I believe. So the men will have the 2-game day. The women had the 2-game day on Tuesday, so they get a little break today.
Yeah, back-to-back 2 draw days and get a little bit of a breather day with just 1.
And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon as well, so they had all morning off. I'm sure they really took advantage of that to get rested up for this second half of the event.
I'm sure you, as an organizer of the junior championships, saw that and said, yeah, this must be nice.
Every hour that we can arrange to sleep in, so a 9 o'clock morning versus an 8 o'clock morning, every hour we can save for.
There's a beauty of a freeze we just saw.
Yeah, that's
right
nice
there,
and tight.
no bump or anything. Maybe just a little, the smallest one, but not enough for any separation. It's pretty well glued in there.
Yeah, and I Difficult to tell who might be number 1 as well. If I was going to put a green M&M on it, I'd say it was blue.
Why green?
Because I'm wearing a green shirt. I'm going to pick green
Okay.
today. It's
All
a
right.
green day.
Red, blue, purple, and all the other colors feelings now, so.
Maybe the value on the green one is higher than a purple one. I don't know.
Go two, just yeah, 2 heads better than 1.
Yeah. So this is Marianne's final shot. Looking to try and remove that blue, I think. A little discussion with Jen Baxter. Of course, Jen Baxter, Christina Black, and Marianne have played together for a few more years. Jennifer Kraus joining them a couple seasons ago when their other player moved to Germany. So after a discussion with Jennifer Black, Baxter, we're going to go take a second look at this. So you could corner freeze on the blue and sit a little bit closer. You could go behind the blue and draw the edge of the 4-foot. And you could try and make a hit, but you're going to squeeze that blue one out. So based on this ice, I think we're looking at the corner freeze on the blue over on the 8-foot. So as you see, both time clocks almost even right now. Using a little bit more time this end.
Well, you had like 2 blanks, and of course the 4th was pretty so you said about the time management, so I have a funny feeling we'll see a lot more decisions.
Yeah,
this is a big spot here.
Each team will manage their time a little differently. Some will like to carry over some time, and then you see some teams that pretty much whatever the allowance is for each end, the 3 minutes and 30 seconds, whatever, they pretty much use it every end. So there's not a lot of time remaining at the end of the game. Different makeups for different teams, as we said. We've discussed Team DNA before. Oh, a little light on this one. Opportunity here for Brothers to perhaps draw for her too. They'll take a close look at that. We've put our guesses on the blue. So she'll draw.
So when you see a situation like this, and of course they can look, give a more of an accurate see than what we can here from the broadcast location and from the cameras up above. Is it ever in your mind? You're not sure, but hey, I might as well worry about getting my number 1, and then if I get 2, that's gravy in a situation.
Exactly, yeah. And most chances, like, our camera is directly above the button, so as we go further out towards the edge of the 12-foot, it gets distorted a little bit. So they have the opportunity to look directly above the stone and move themselves into a position where they can really see straight down over it. So they probably know exactly which one is closer than the other. I usually go with my gut if I think, when I look at it, I said, yeah, it's blue. I'm usually right more than I'm wrong, but if we're ever in doubt, you just call for the measure.
Final stone for Brothers here.
Also coming up light. That.
We're going to look for an official, so we're going to get a measurement. You see.
Yeah, Christina calling for the measure.
Yeah, looking for an official, wanting to. So this could be big because it's.
Yeah, so 2 stones in a row. Marianne's coming up light and Jill Brothers coming up light. So we'll see if we can take an opportunity to put a stopwatch or something on one of these stones early in the next end to see. We might be seeing some changes. As I said, the air temperature right there appeared to be colder You see more gloves and sweaters on, so that could have an impact on the surface. Or we're just miscommunicating the desired weight for that location. Interesting, they're both number 5s.
Here is the brothers forcing. And now they find an official, and he's got the measurement tool here.
So that does have a fancy name. It's called a micrometer. We also have seen the laser measuring here during the last stone draw before the game. So we do also have measures that can be used. Usually before the event, there's a briefing between the teams and the officials. So if the teams were against perhaps using the lasers, the micrometers are being used. Who made that decision and when would have been done by the committee. Flex there on the arm from the blue. So there is a dial that will give them an exact number. Let's see the yellow.
Oh, didn't even
touch, so it'll be blue. So 1 blue for brothers. And that'll give hammer to Arsenault in the 7th.
4-2. The score. Well, that's the way this sport is going. He was talking about how everybody is so tight, and one versus 8. Everybody is so in the same boat these days, and free guard zone and things like that. And because of that, you see a lot more measurements too.
Yeah, the caliber of play and the shot execution is just phenomenal, and you don't see a lot of misses. So you need to out-curl the opponent in the same position. So what that means, if you throw lead stones, you want to try and make sure your shots are made more often than the other ones. This one looks light as well.
Yeah, they're all 3 members there. Will it have enough to get over? And it does not.
I wonder if we've had a change, and I'll have to try and peek at some of the other games, see if that's the same result or if they've just lost the touch. So unfortunately for brothers, she wasn't able to take advantage of that opportunity to score 2 in the 6th. So with this, she really wants to try and steal. 4 ends remaining, so it's not a big panic. But if she could steal 1 more, she'd be closer to the position where she could score a deuce and be right back on track.
Well, she was definitely hoping that it was the blue, and it was the case.
Yeah, I wonder if perhaps they may switch some rocks. Maybe Jill wasn't happy with that rock. If that's the case, she may have thrown it first. Sometimes you just ask your lead to throw a rock that may not be responding the way you expect it, to see if they have the same result. And not all rocks react the same. So they work together in pre-game practice to see which 2 stones. First of all, the skip really likes, so she'll usually throw those 2 stones. And then the other members of the team will pick their favorites as well. So could be a stone not reacting the way she wants. That's definitely a better outcome, a nice tight guard. So Marianne now trying to put in a second point.
Yeah, so it could be a little bit of adjustment time, as we've seen some lightness, as you mentioned, so.
I like this call. Marianne's called Jennifer Krause to draw down to her yellow. She's not getting the movement out of it. But I like putting the 2 together when you have the lead. It gives you room. It keeps the other half of the house open. So when you're ready to start peeling, of course, you can't remove those guards until after the 4th stone. So it keeps that other half of the house open. So when you do peel, you can send those blue rocks that way and not worry about them jamming on your own.
It doesn't go the way they want as it goes and sails to the back.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to miss the shot. As we said, Marianne doesn't want a lot of rocks in play. So if you're going to make an error shot, heavy would be the way to go, because you certainly wouldn't want to put a guard up that Jill Brothers could use.
Yeah.
So Sarah looking to come around here. Line's great.
Yep. Carmody, extra scrubs.
Goes to the back button.
And now they'll peel that blue one off.
Yeah, we have 4 stones delivered now, so we're ready to hit and keep it clean probably from Marianne. We'll see Jill Brothers continue to guard this stone as it's close to the button.
Black bringing a lunch pail and her hard hat on that one as she scrubbed hard to keep that one. And they just get the shooter to go and remove the stone belonging to Brothers.
I've done some statistics at some national events, and I said, you know, it's funny that you can curl 100% and still have a scoreboard that doesn't match your statistics numbers. Sometimes when you get down, it's very difficult to get back because even though you're curling 100%, you're making your draw. So is the other team. They're making that hit and roll, so you just don't get the opportunity to set anything up. So Jill Brothers just hoping for a not
Could
quite
this
perfect
be a
result.
second hog?
Yeah. Something's definitely not.
That's the second one, and
Yeah, something not working out there for them.
time to scratch your head if you're teaming.
Yeah,
Now everything's going. And, you know, your plan has sort of been like, had it gone to the kibosh here, as all of a sudden, yeah, we're trying to get things going, and now here they can, having a hard time trying to get a guard up as they have hauled here in this end alone, which allows the Arsenault foursome here, the Dartmouth Curling Club, pick this blue one out to sit too.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Team Brothers, and you know it's very hard to come back from that mentally as well. You know, if you feel like you've thrown it well, unfortunately we don't hear the team conversation, so we're not quite sure. An error on the thrower, perhaps miscommunicating how much weight she intended to throw, or if there is a problem with perhaps the stones or the ice. Definitely hard to come back. So not taking any chances on draw weight here, just trying to remove the yellow stone.
Little roll off the throw by Carmody.
That's a good result. They move the blue a little bit closer to the yellow. If they could get Marianne to keep potentially hit theirs and roll closer to her own, she might set herself up for a double. Lots of things to consider when you're hitting the hack.
Yeah, so really important not to be on the far outside to the left here on this one, our left, and they'll get closer. So if they want to roll, they want to be on the other side so they can roll away and get away to prevent the double, as you mentioned. It looks like they're going to nose it, and that's what they do.
Yeah, very flat double. I think they may just try to hit and maybe roll over, but
saying about 9.5.
so 9.5 would be the speed of the stone. It would be how long it takes it to travel from one hog line to the other. So that would be in most people's or most teams, that would be a normal hit weight probably.
Carmody all by itself.
So the high rotation that she throws should favor her here and allow the stone to pop off.
1, 2, knocks him out and sticks there. Big shot there from the Mayflower Curling Club. Joe Brothers team with a big shot.
Yeah, it's certainly nice to see that after their few missteps earlier in the end.
Yeah, you talked about it, is that if they get trying to, you know, maybe roll away from that previous shot, and they got really set that up there for Carmody.
Yeah, as we said, we always want to make the opposition make the most difficult shot possible. So if you're trading stones, if you can move that stone around in the house a little bit, create potentially a different path, maybe force them to another turn that you're not comfortable with or maybe haven't seen, anything to change, not throwing exactly the same shot every time.
Brothers trailing 4-2 now. Without hammer here in number 7. But this end could have been a lot disastrous. 2 hogs, and one is rare, but to see 2 in the same end by the same team.
Well, yes, that's
Never,
quite unfortunate.
Don't often see that.
I had first thought perhaps Jill might have had a bad stone and perhaps maybe gave it to Jen Bryan to throw, and that why maybe
trying
why.
to keep the line on this one. They'll
and roll out.
just get enough of it to remove the yellow stone. Marianne Arsenault, and her own blue stone goes out of play as well. So
you would think this would be easy. You just put a stone in the house, and you would think put it right on the bullseye. But you're trying to put it in a spot where it would be difficult for either Jill to hit and roll, or just put it in a position where it'll be an area of the ice that she hasn't seen yet.
Or put it in a spot where that she's going to have to hit, like, maybe half a rock, and then have to, if she's going to blank, roll over to the other side, making it a long way.
Yeah. So this is Marianne's first stone. Just looking to draw into the edge of the 8-foot, I believe. So I'm sure there's been a lot of discussions off the ice. What do you do with that one stone when you're trying to force a blank or force a point? Where do you put it?
Like to call it is deal with it sort of thing is like I call this shot.
Oh, very nice shot. It'll be top 8-foot. Slide into the tee line. So, no time wasted there. Jill just try to remove it. So she can get a little roll off of this just to change that shot again, so Marianne's not throwing an identical shot at it, and try to make the rollout more difficult for Marianne to blank.
Yeah, we've had some rocks in play, and this end, nothing, as you see. All kinds of shrapnel in the back. Very quiet.
Having those 2 stones hogged earlier in the end didn't give Brothers the opportunity to set up for that steal. So hopefully they can shake that off, and coming in the next end, they can set up something in the free guard zone for themselves.
Definitely important here for Brothers to stick here in her final here in 7.
Yeah, a little movement either towards the center would be nice, just to change that up so it's not the exact same icing.
And sticks around, so the blank definitely an end here, or the blank in play here in end number 7. The wily veteran Marianne Arsenault makes her way up here. We mentioned earlier broadcast, 20 times she's been here.
No pressure.
Yeah. It's almost like the sun comes up. Sun comes up every morning. Breakfast is had between 6 and 9 in the morning. And Marianne Arsenault is going to be at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
Yeah.
Pretty well 3 things you can maybe guarantee. Her final stones, she's trying to blank here in end 7.
Looking to hit and roll out here. Sweepers aren't touching it, I think.
Oh, just got it.
Yeah, as we saw there, you don't have to hit a lot of it
almost
to
got
do
away
it,
from her.
So, yeah. 6 there, looking at our time clocks. Each team almost even.
Almost would like to put almost like heart rate monitors on players as they play, and I'm sure that monitor was just blowing up because it was like, looking at it here, we're right overlooking that end as it was going down, and it was like, oh, is this going to stay? And you just got enough to get the blank there in end number 7.
Yeah, watching it go down, it almost looked like it may have set back a bit. So, but neither sweeper touched that. There would have been an opportunity perhaps to have that one sweeper directional sweeping to maybe get that little bit of finish off it, but none of the sweepers touched it. So Christine in the house must have been confident with the line that it would make it go away. So Brothers here looking to get these rocks in play, utilize that free guard zone, and set up another steal.
Yeah, you take away that that 3 and 5 for Arsenault. We're looking at a completely different game right now, 4-2, and just getting over.
Yeah, I think we've got a stone there on that sheet that is not reacting the same way as the others, so. Get it out of the way, get it gone, so the lead's throwing.
First one goes up there from Jen Brine from the Jill Brothers foursome of the Mayflower Curling Club.
Of course, that rock in the free guard zone, we can't hit it yet. So Marianne electing to go over to the wings.
They've let it go on its own as much as they can here, and go into the house, back 12.
So we should see Jill call for a second guard here.
And brother says, stone back 12? Don't know what you're talking about. Let's put one here.
I might need that later. Let's leave that there. Those rocks in behind the tee line can sometimes be your friend.
Murphy with a slight clean. Now digs in.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get this to finish a little bit. Get it closer to center.
As close as you can, ladies, and comes to a rest.
So looking to see Jen Gross place this stone exactly where she has the other one.
Very casual cleaning there by Black. Now Baxter
Yeah, and that's just to
gets
ensure.
in on it.
Yeah, they just clean it like that just to ensure there's no debris in front of the path of the stone.
And almost like freezes right close to there to the other one there.
Yeah, they're back a little bit farther than they would like. They would really like to see them above the tee line. Although if they are back behind the tee line, they potentially could be used by the other team to draw down to and outscore. The other thing, though, is if you do hit and roll off of those, you're not rolling into the 4-foot, you're rolling into the back 12-foot. So actually not a bad placement as well for that reason. Very nice guard coming in here. Nice to stay top 4.
Top 4? How about right on the lid?
Right on the lid, yeah.
Just like that, here we go. Thing be removed here by Jen Baxter. I'll probably get rid of that long one first. Actually, they'll get rid of the second one as they're going to be well by, as you see. And get it and remove that one.
The other guard is such a long guard.
Yes.
You can get around it quite easily, even with like a hack or a bumper weight. So it's not really as dangerous as the one closer to the rings was.
In the words of legendary commentator Don Duguid, long guards were not your friends.
Just something for the sweepers to trip over. But certainly in Jill Brothers' position with that long guard and a second guard, it does protect her shot stone very well.
Taking a page out of the Aaron Carmody playbook here. Lots of rotation on this one from Sarah Murphy.
Slips in to nibble on the 12-foot. Of course, it won't come into play as a pointing point until the yellow stones are removed at the back, but that might not be something Jill Brothers is worried about right now. She just wants to try and lock that number 1 stone.
Baxter with the big weight. And gets rid of the one there. That was just, as you say, just a little bit in the 12-foot.
Yep. So definitely clearing the guards and rolling your shooter away is beneficial for your game when you're ahead, as Marianne is. Had she played the nose hit and potentially tried for catching that one on the button, perhaps making that double, she would have left a guard on the center line. and Jill Brothers could have used that to draw around as well. So definitely in Marianne's favor to just clear that rock and roll away.
Carmody.
And here's some communication of the weight so that the skip knows exactly how far the stone will come, so she can anticipate the line. Going to try to run these stones.
Wants more ice, black. Not on screen, but over just a little bit more. They say whoa right away.
Yeah, just tracking very straight, not moving very much. She doesn't need a very big piece. She just needs to chip it and roll out. Of course, Brothers
All by
ready.
its lonesome as it went there, and sweeper's not needed.
Yeah.
Slight break for them.
There's no hesitation on Jill. Let's just put the guard back up. So we should see perhaps Marianne maybe attempt a different play closer towards that shot stone now that we're into Christina's last rock. She does have hammer, so she wants a path into that button. So depending on where the center line guard ends up.
Murphy with a little bit of an extra scrub. Will it stop in time outside the rings? Yes.
So pretty much the broom right where you want to hit it.
Of course. One of the things that I've learned, of course, with the free guard zone and everything, is sometimes you don't even really want the rock too close to the house because it leaves run back opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. It can be run back on even onto your own. So
definitely a lot tighter than what the Brothers team really wanted.
yeah.
But of course, up by 2, don't really want to, gamble, and she just removes the stone.
Timeout called here by Team Brothers. So a little bit of discussion on where we want to place this stone. Do we want to put in and then perhaps go in and maybe sit number 2? Do we want to try and sit number 2 kind of half guarded? There's a couple options here. So
Peter Corkin will make his way, meet with Team Marianne Arsenault.
yeah,
Darren Allen is the coach for Jill Brothers.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's here today or if he'll be here later in the week. So if he is here, he will access the ice. He may be sitting downstairs, so that might be why we may not have seen him up here.
Relatively another quiet in, but
so Bliss
Joyce, yeah.
Yes, their alternate has come in to add her thoughts.
yeah, she's been almost like the third party here of this broadcasting group. We just haven't given her a microphone or a head yet. She's been right there. So, of course, was very active last year in the
Last year.
Scotties. Yeah.
Yeah, last year
Of course,
Sarah
Scott.
Murphy had a little bit more time off, and this year it's I think Bliss a little bit more.
Well, as you see, 8th in and doing some extra house cleaning in that picture that you see right now, making sure that there is no potential for picks as we get closer to the closing end of this game, Brothers and Arsenault.
Yeah, I think if you're Jill Brothers, you really want to score this end. Make sure that score stays close going into the 9th end, give you a little bit of a buffer. Whether or not you want to force Marianne to 1 and keep the hammer. A couple options going forward, but so we'll see what happens here. We're not quite sure if we're doing another center line guard or if we're coming in a little deeper.
I think by the pace of it looks like. guard, so stop right on the logo.
So this guard's on the other side of center. We've seen the other ones pretty much sit on the center line. So I'm not sure if it creates an opportunity for Marianne. I mean, the shot stone, of course, completely covered. But it may give her the opportunity to try and attempt to grab Jane on the shot stone and perhaps roll out the two blue stones out of the way. A little bit more time taken this end to ensure all the shots were thought out.
Very quiet house so far. Just one right on the lid belonging to brothers. Marianne Arsenault in 8.
She catch a piece. Oh,
Right,
very
you can
close.
see. And a little bit of neck reaction from some of the people right close to our broadcast location as they leaned back over that one and after that shot.
When you're watching these shots as a player sometimes, even as a spectator, you see the crowd start to lean one way or another as if we can affect the path of the stone. So very close on that one. But the guard is out of the way, so that works well for Marianne. Having the shot stone removed would have been a bonus. So Jill Brothers' last stone. I kind of like where she has her broom there, top 8 foot, half underneath the guard. Create that Christmas tree effect that we saw last night in the men's game. So if she can wrap one around her guard, sit top 8 foot as point 1 and 2, just show a small piece of that stone. It would be very difficult to remove, and it cannot be run back into her number 1 shot as well. So that's what we're looking for.
As we await the final stone here for Jill Brothers without hammer here in number 8.
So Erin's happy with the line. We're just waiting on the weight from the sweepers to see whether or not it needs to be swept. Looking to just touch the 8 foot a little bit, right where Erin's broom is. Very good. I'm not sure if that back one, there might be enough of it to remove, so Marianne may be forced to take one here.
I'm going to make a promise to our viewers watching online. After this final stone here from Marianne Arsenault in 8, we'll update people on what's going on sheets B, D, and E. We've been getting a little bit focused on this one, so we have, of course, viewers that maybe want to know what the other members who aren't being broadcast, what they're doing. So we're going to give everybody a little rundown of what's happening on those sheets when this end comes to an end.
Of course, you can always catch the scores live online at nscurl.com if you want to track another game that's not being covered through the Bell 5 TV1. So Marianne looking to remove shot stone and remain shot herself. No opportunity to remove both stones, so she'll have to be forced to take one here.
Facing 2 blue-handled stones belonging to Jill Brothers. Final stone for Marianne Arsenault out of the Dartmouth Curling Club, leading by 2. Very calm, cool, casual, so they must be liking it already. And now heads down. Both the ladies working hard here on this one. And the Rex
Rolls off, so Jill Brothers will steal one.
A steal of one. 4-3 to the 9th. Arsenault will keep the hammer. So I said it's got to update scores, and Pinckney's making it a game now as they are playing the 9th, and right now 4-3. Kristen McDermott overcalling Pinckney. McDermott, undefeated, came in 4-0. Up top all by herself. First place in the women's standings. Breen having a pretty good afternoon here against Nancy Delahunt. Of course, that's the team that has Colleen Jones. She's doing third rocks here at the championships. 7-4 as they are into the 8th. On a timeout on sheet E right now as McAvoy started running 5-3 as they play the 8th. The big turning point on that one is that back in the 5th, McAvoy got a score of 3. Way to go into that first. Way to go into the 5th end break. What I'm trying to say. So now you're up to date on everything. Now we can concentrate here on our 9th end here between Brothers and Arsenault in the battle of second place teams here at Draw 5 in the Nova Scotia Scotties Tournament Hearts on TV1.
Yeah, so I think we'll see this end develop very similar to the last end. Jill Brothers will be looking to try and steal and tie this game. Team Arsenault looking to take 2 and perhaps get a jump. She may also try to force one. She wouldn't mind being tied coming home with hammer. Would certainly put her in a very good position. Or if she could well. So I took a peek over at Team Arsenault's alternate, Carol McLean. She's also a trained coach as well, so I see her tracking stats and ice conditions, so I'm sure a great asset to the team to have somebody in that position that can do that behind the glass work for her, allowing Peter Corkum to dedicate his time strictly to what's going on the ice.
Yeah, we've seen some teams that just have the minimum participants to participate, and some have coaches and some don't. Some have 5th, some don't. It's all of a sudden you need maybe that 5th person who's maybe looking above, seeing maybe things that they may not be able to see at ice level, and bounce the ideas off of them and say, well, this is what I see from up in my vantage point. It's an added mouth, added eyes that would help you out. And
yeah, that 5th player, some people might think may just be a bench warmer and just sit down and watch the game and play when they're needed. But there is a role for that player sometimes, especially at national events. There's practice ice available late in the evening on the sheet that you're playing the next morning. So sometimes that alternate will go stones, get a feel for them. They kind of know the team really well, so they know what stones they'd like. They begin to do matching, so setting up 2 stones. You always want 2 stones that run very similar, although they're all not quite created equally. They are within a certain parameter, but we want to make sure they're matched. Check out the ice conditions. How much is it curling? What height are we going to expect? The alternate tends to do that. So during an event like this, Carol will track the team. She might also be scouting the next game where they're playing. So if their next game, say, is on sheet D, she could be watching sheet D for any changes in ice conditions or differences between sheet C and D, so that she can brief the team with that information before their next game.
Nice little finesse shot here, just done by Jennifer Krause, as you said, with the 4 rock free guard zone. Can't remove it, but she took the stuff just enough to open things up and didn't remove it.
You can't hit it or take it out. You cannot take it out of play, but you can move it around.
Yeah.
So sometimes some teams will try to just play with the lines and the angles and try to make sure that there's a better outcome for them. So now that we're past that 4th stone, we can remove.
But that just shows the new importance of the leads there on the team. The free guard zone have made it so that it has become a pretty important role, that when they need to, they have that ability to do what they call the tick shot, or as you say, just enough weight, just bump it off the center lines, push it towards the wing, and not remove it.
Yeah, during the under 21 juniors, we saw a few of these tick shots from Team Manual, and they were done phenomenal. One was just move the stone to the side, and I don't even know if there was an inch remaining in the in-play space. So the percentage to move those rocks out of an area that you don't want them in, but still keep them in play, it's a phenomenal shot to see. It's a little hit and roll here by Brothers.
And out the other side, and
still
all
in
by
play.
itself, yeah.
Play and in the rings, so Marianne will probably think that the guard is more of a danger than the stone in the rings, even though it is protecting her own. So discussion with the team at the other end. Marianne likes the peel. The team thought maybe the come around might be the way to go. So at this level, there's lots of room to peel that stone away.
Jennifer Baxter.
And if you could ever catch that blue sitting on the 12-foot, it would be a bonus.
Could it be bonus time as that's
There we
spinning
go.
towards the back? There it is. Boy, Johnny on the spot. You are with that one.
Yes, Marianne knew which way she wanted to go with that. So you're always looking to see, is there a plan B, is there a plan C? So you want to make sure you know that there's some options when you throw that stone. So a hit here as option 1, come around as option 2. Although if you come run back for Marianne to make, So Jill's sitting here. Do you want to be tied coming home without hammer, or do we want to be down 1? I don't know either way. If she could be down 2 with hammer, it would still be a difficult end to play. A blank here would be great, or a steal.
Aaron Carmody here in 9. Nose.
So Marianne looking to try to blank here, keep that hammer. So she indicated a small roll would be nice, keep the shooter around. Just move that over to the wings, maybe create a different challenge for Jill, as we haven't seen a lot of shots out that way.
Definitely looks to get a roll here on the delivery from Christina Black. Just a little.
Just enough to change that line, right?
Yep.
Always make the skip think. Was there a spot in the ice here? How many times have we thrown a rock down here? As we get later in this game, we're in the 9th end now. That 4-foot area down the center of the ice has been well used. So if we can get outside that line, we might get some fresher pebble. Might react a little differently.
Jen Bryan gets on it. A few scrubs from her.
Yeah, might get a little roll over here.
And you say
Keep
roll
it on
back
the-
towards center.
Yeah, keep it on the rings.
Of course, we had the men's draw earlier this morning, and it was a lot of point up in that one
So
between McDougall and Fleming, and this one pretty well low scoring 4-3 as we are into the 9th.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of discussion here before Christina threw. Marianne had indicated, I don't mind a straight peel or a hit and roll, just don't hit nose. So if she had a, I think we would have seen Jill Brothers going around it and using it as a guard. So So Jill Brothers just drawing in here, looking to make a hit and roll out difficult for Marianne. She's going to try for 4 foot on the center line. Always nice to try these draw shots in an open house just to get a feel for where you might need to be if you have to put it on the lid at some point in the next end or two. So Jill's first stone here.
Say just a matter just picking a path and putting something so she can make a play here. Marianne Arsenault is
seems to indicate that it might be a little heavy.
Brothers throw is on its way here in 9.
As we see them jump on it as it comes into that 4 foot area. Slowing down a little bit. Slides into the top 12. So again here, Marianne is not looking for a nose hit here because she would leave the guard. Looking to hit and roll somewhere. Most likely hit and roll out. Pretty much a textbook end for Marianne.
Gone the way that pretty well she wanted, and that's the thing. You get a big 3 spot at the end of 5, you can pretty well control the game and make you play the game you want to play, and that's been the case here.
Yeah, we talk about these big ends when you're diagnosing your games after an event with a team. If you go back and look at your scoring, a lot of games shift suddenly by a 3-point end. So there's usually a lot of discussion after how do we eliminate these 3-point ends, either against us. We'd always like to have them for us. But a lot of discussion goes into, what do we do in that end that was different than other ends, and make sure that they don't make the same mistake again and really eliminate having any of those 3-end points or more scored against them. So we see Jill Brothers taking a different direction here, so just changing up that draw just enough that we hope that we could fool Marianne with the ice, although with her experience, I don't think there's any fooling her.
You use the old adage to, give yourself a chance, you got to take a chance, so case in point here. Knowing that as a veteran that you're playing, but hey, got to put her somewhere and make her play.
Yeah, Jill Brothers has got a lot of draws, so making sure these draws stick. Oh, come on, girls, we need it in.
Yeah, they need it. Get it in there, and it will be well light.
So opportunity to blank here for Marianne. She'll throw it through. She'll stay away from that blue rock so she doesn't accidentally touch it. So we'll see an out turn to the wings. That'll put her in a good position in the 10th end. She'll be up 1 with hammer. And Jill Brothers will have to set up a steal. She won't have hammer going home in the 10th end. So if you're Jill Brothers, you've got to sit down and figure out if you're going to try and steal the win or if you're going to try to steal and play an extra end.
Another blank, our 4th here in the game as we head to end number 10. Arsenault up on top of Brothers 4-3. Both these teams at 3-1 coming into the draw today. Kristen McDermott, of course, 4-0. She looks pretty good in the driver's seat of the game against Colleen Pinckney on sheet B. 5-3, and they're playing the 10th. And I've seen the McDermott team throw a stone through the house, so they're basically in shutdown mode there.
Yeah,
looking pretty good to go 5-0.
Yeah, they're looking just to keep everything clean this end, make sure that there's no scoring opportunity for Colleen. So
McAvoy Lattisaur still 5-3. Last score we have to report on that one. And of course, Terry and Nathan calling sheet D action here for us. And it's all Breen now, 9-4 as they play the 9th over the Nancy Delahunt team.
So Jill Brothers looking to take advantage of this free guard zone and play to set up for that steal.
Arsenault with the hammer, throwing the yellow stones. As close as Brothers got, she got to even this at 1 apiece, and that was in the 4. Say, at big 3 in number 5. And been trailing since then and really unable to get really much going. Just a steal of 1 and 8 and a single point which hit hammer and 6.
Yeah, unfortunately she had the one end. 2 of her stones didn't make it across the hog line, so she wasn't able to capitalize on that free guard zone and get things set up the way she wanted to. Had that occurred, well, I don't know if we would have seen a steal that end and perhaps a closer game here. It is curling. Anything can change in a moment, so we'll see what she does here. So Jen Baxter looking to set up another guard. Jill coming out to help.
Yep, 3 sweepers. So, and now of course relieved by Brothers. Murphy and Brothers trying to get it over and just do.
Yeah, you would think having more sweepers would be more beneficial, but studies are showing that the sweeper closest to the stone does the most effort in controlling the path of the stone or the weight of the stone. So usually now when you see a third sweeper come out, you'll see one of the team members back off, and they'll just catch their breath and be ready and a little bit fresher for the next rock.
Sir just got a single point in 9, so 4 as they play the 10th. McAvoy hoping to improve her record to 2-3.
So I'm not sure what happened there, if there was something on the stone or just released it out, or not what they were looking for. Even though the Yellowstone was in the free guard zone, you can remove your own. So Marianne just looking to eliminate guards at this point. Brothers looking to have Sarah draw in here behind the guards. Start getting them set up for the steal. Going hard for line here.
Yellow one coming in the screen. Ooh. And they give it a little touch. And to the outside it goes and spins in.
Try to leave that high if we can over there. We might be able to use it. So Marianne try to remove a few of these guards. Quick consult from Jen Baxter. Of course, she's the one throwing, so let's make sure she understands these angles. There's Jennifer Baxter, our mixed doubles player here. So she sometimes plays with no broom and 1 sweeper. So Christina on hard, so she must have thought she was a little tight.
And getting a later stage, want to make sure. Well, they're going to spill these things to the side.
Get that center line opened up.
And Jill remove some shrapnel as well.
Yeah, Jill looking to keep that center line guard. So she really wants to keep that 4-foot area in front of the house blocked off with her color rock, so she can potentially set up her steal at the end here.
Sarah Murphy with light brushing there from Erin Carmody. Jen Bryan, light cleaning as well.
Just wanted to curl up to the center line and sit there.
And they do.
So Marianne ignoring the stone in the house because the stone here on the center line is more dangerous to her right now.
Big weight shown. And they'll bounce things around. Take a look at that shot, hey?
Cleared the front of the Blue Rocks, that's for sure.
And a chuckle afterwards. Well, when you're hot, you're hot. They came in, they had a loss to McDermott to start things, and then 3 straight wins.
Yeah, some teams get better as the event goes on. They get on a momentum and they just keep going and going. And the teams that unfortunately get a loss or two sometimes have to shake that off and work a little bit harder to get their mental game into the next game and pick themselves back up.
Once again, another guard being asked to be put in play here by Erin Carmody. Second year third on this Joe Brothers team of the Mayflower Curling Club.
Great place stone right on the center line. Christina's first rock.
Here is the aforementioned Christina Black. The Happy Cape Bretner, as she's known by. And it gets rid of the blue, and the yellow goes bye-bye as well.
Yeah, I think we'll see one more centerline guard here at a Jill. I'm not sure if she'll try to go around the yellow at some point. Although they are Marianne's guards over in the wings, she could use them to tuck and hide behind if she needs to. We have a final over on sheet B. We'll just wait for the score and we'll update you on that as soon as it's posted.
Trying to get this one over. It will be long, but they had 2 hog line violations in the 7th.
Yeah, any rock now in the guard area will work for them. Of course, we always like to have it closer in case we have to promote it. But your error tolerance factor is on the light side versus the long side.
That gets rid of it, and shooter will also go out of play.
So probably now that we're down to Jill's stones, a little discussion whether we should go around now or try and put in one more center line. If you're Jill, you want to put it in a position that if Mary doesn't quite get the roll she wants or ends up with a nose, that you could potentially use that stone to come around.
5-3, the McDermott over Pinckney, so she'll go to 5-0, Kristen McDermott.
Quite old those young ladies are on.
Yeah, they're just working with Dick Gass, the team from the Halifax Curling Club.
Timeout called by Team Brothers here, their second timeout. So it is the 10th end, so you might as well use it. You only have 2 stones left. It's a use it or lose it scenario for timeouts. So their 5th, Bliss Joyce, will come out and add a little bit of advice to the conversation.
So all of a sudden, the pack is starting to get away. A couple of teams are starting to get away from the rest of the pack. McDermott, as we mentioned, 5 straight wins in a row. Arsenault, after getting a loss, now looking close to getting 4 straight wins to go to 4-1. Others will, if things don't turn around in her favor here in the closing moments of this one, will go to 3-2.
Yeah,
she's still okay. She don't want that 3rd loss, but you know.
Yeah, 2 losses. We're getting close now to either a tiebreaker scenario or potentially. But definitely don't want to fall to 3 losses now.
And in trouble of going to 3 losses is Jones as they play the 9th there. That's a high-scoring one between Breen and Jones.
Yeah, Team Jones, Colleen Jones, just took 3 in the 9th to at least be within scoring distance, down 2 without.
Yep.
You can catch that on our other broadcast.
Yep, they've got lots of offense in that one. 16 points between the 2 teams. Really, it's also really an important one for Breen. She doesn't want to fall to 1-4. So I mean, that's got a lot up for grabs there.
Yeah, there's a few teams out there that could probably play spoiler here as we get into the final draws.
McAvoy trying to go to 2-3 against Ladouceur. Ladouceur, the youngest team, as you talked about off the top. Seems such a long time ago. One of the younger teams here at the championships.
Yeah, we
still trying to get their first win.
Had the privilege of seeing them play at the under-21s a couple weeks ago, and just a phenomenal young team. 4 of the players still eligible for the Canada Games trials coming up in March. One of the players is older and does not qualify for that age category, but they all do qualify for the under-18. Jill Brothers looking to place a stone in an area that'll be difficult for Marianne to remove.
Yep, we're into the first of 2 for Brothers. Skip rocks N10.
So we're just placing another guard, hoping Marianne doesn't make a perfect peel. Brothers, of course, still sitting 1 in the house over by the edge of the 8-foot on the tee line. With Marianne with hammer, that's not much of a concern. She's, I'm sure, quite confident at this point in the game that she can outdraw it.
Whoa.
Sometimes in sports, they say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Started off in the loss category to Christian McDermott, and as I mentioned, 3 straight wins in a row, looking for number 4. This team from the Dartmouth Curling Club, and there is their skip getting ready to throw her first 10, Marianne Arsenault. 5-time national champion.
Good sweep here by Jennifer Krause to keep it straight.
And then back-to-back championships from 2001 to 2004.
So Jill Brothers, I think, looking to have this one come in a little bit. I'm not sure if she'd want to leave it high on the 12-foot, but I think you'd want to sit 2 and just make Marianne's last shot a little bit more challenging.
Handshakes on E, so McAvoy defeats Ladouceur. We'll get official score here in just a couple of seconds. So right now, the games that are live streamed are the only ones that are going on. So we'll probably give viewers the chance to, switch links if they want to see the conclusion there of the Jones-Breen game as they play on in N10. We're getting to the closing stages of this one as the final stone here for Jill Brothers wrote Hammer and 10 is on its way.
So we want to be in a little bit just to count 2. That's a very nice shot. If Marianne hits that one on the nose, she will not outcount the back one. So now she needs to make a play on the one on the edge of the 8-foot on the tee line. So I guess if you're the skip, what do you want to throw? A hit or a draw? Both shots can be outdrawn by going to the 4-foot. Marianne likes the hit. So she'll hit this, and she'll need a little bit of a roll inside just to guarantee her number 1 stone. A little bit of pressure here if you get the angles a little bit wrong. You may not get the result you're looking for. So just a hit just on the hair on the center line side of her stone so she can roll in towards the 4-foot.
Came in as one of the favorites, and she's lived up to those expectations. Final stone here for the Marianne Arsenault foursome. Dartmouth pretty well been leading since the get-go. And we'll roll. There you go. Single point. Applause here in the area. Arsenault will get a single point here in 10. Win this one 5-3. So for my broadcast, Skiffington, and of course our producer Chuck Calder, my name is Dan Hobson. So long. If you want to get a chance to watch the finale, the final shots there on sheet D, Jones, Breen, proceed to go there on tv1.belllion.ca. So long for now.
I know.